weeks where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. Now, Singapore's economy has performed worse than expected in the second quarter, slowing again after hitting its lowest rate since the global financial crisis in the first 3 months of this year. According to flash estimates by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Singapore's economic growth is pegged at 0.1% in the second quarter of this year. Now, I have here with me business correspondent Xiao Bei to discuss this. Hi, Bei.
Hi.
Right. So, can you give us a quick overview of how the different sectors are performing right now?
Right, okay, so I think this morning we saw that performance was really growth was actually a lot slower than expected this quarter. And even though, manufacturing, we've seen that the manufacturing slump has been going on for quite some time due to the US-China trade dispute. What was a bit new was that the deterioration was seen across other key sectors as well. On one hand, manufacturing slowed because of declines in electronics and in precision engineering. But in construction and services, it's two other areas, it also saw negative growth quarter on quarter.
So let's not try to take such an alarmist approach, but are we expecting a full year recession?
Right, so we hear the word recession a lot now that, we see that growth is slowing quite significantly. But what economists think is more likely at the moment is what we call a technical recession. So that just means 2 quarters of consecutive slowdown. As to a full-year recession, no, I don't think we are expecting that at the moment, and DPM, Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat has said so today as well. That is more serious, so it means like the entire full-year growth is actually in the negative region, and it would really take a much sharper contraction in the later part of this year for a full-year recession to happen.
Understand. So what is the government's strategy in helping companies and workers to adjust to the current economic climate?
So they're doing quite a few things at the same time. So for existing industries, I think you guys might have heard of the industry transformation map. So for 23 sectors, they are kind of trying to chart a new direction as the industries change with disruption as well. But they're also trying to grow new sectors. So things like agri-tech, like high-tech farming, so that that will create new jobs in the future. And on the third thing that they are doing is also to encourage local companies to go regional, because our region is growing quite rapidly. And they launched recently this program called Scale Up SG to help companies internationalize. And of course, on an individual level, you would have heard of things like, Skills Future, professional conversion programs. For people who maybe you are displaced from one industry, you want to move into a new industry, you can actually consider, going for such programs to improve your skills as well. Yeah.
So clearly there is a lot of disruption in today's working environment.
Yes.
You mentioned tech quite a bit. You mentioned skills as well. So the issues that come as well with an aging population that Singapore has, there's a lot of constantly emerging problems.
Right.
And there's been calls for a Ministry of Aging, calls to set up this so-called new ministry. So what exactly is that about, and why did it come about?
Right, so this Ministry of Aging suggestion actually came about from a senior research fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies. So it's just a suggestion at the moment, but the idea is that Singapore is actually having a growing reliance on older workers, and we have an aging workforce. So people are living longer, and the total fertility rate is also not very high at the moment. So the idea is that, it might be good to have a dedicated ministry to help older workers, help keep them in gainful employment. If they want to continue working, they can and they should be supported to do so. So this ministry can deal with things like ageism and employment. It can help to bridge also this job skills mismatch that we are all kind of facing at the moment. So if professionals lose their jobs and if their industries get a bit disrupted, the sense is that such a ministry can actually maybe help to address older workers' concerns.
Now, to clarify, it's not that the government hasn't been doing anything. Right. It's just that you were saying that so far the ministries have been working on their own policies, but they're hoping to set up a new ministry where everyone can kind of come together and be more cohesive. I understand?
So
is that right?
If the Ministry of Aging, according to this report, suggestion in this report on the future workforce, if it does if it does get set up, it should work very closely with the education and the manpower ministries. And the report also actually suggested that there could be even closer collaboration between the existing ministries, or you could even combine them, so that it would address not just these, well, they don't just address issues alone, but you take a holistic kind of approach to it. Yeah.
So how well is Singapore dealing with the tech disruption right now?
So for Singapore, I think the general direction is quite positive because, like earlier I mentioned, the industry transformation maps, right? I mean, there are moves to help entire sectors kind of move on and move into the new economy. And we are also trying to, well, make it easier for workers. So I think now NTUC is trying to have this thing called Worker 4.0, where for different sectors or different types of workers, they actually say, okay, look, these are the skills you need. If you want to upgrade yourself for future jobs in your industry, go for these certain skills or these certain improvements, causes. So at the moment, they're still working it out as to what exactly is needed for each different industry.
Okay.
But I think the general direction is positive. Only issue is that implementation. I mean, it's harder, of course, to get companies on board and to help them make it a priority because of cost and because they would have to let go of these workers to let them be retrained. So time is needed as well. Yeah.
Because earlier, it seems that a lot of the expectation is on the individual to upgrade themselves, but the organization also has a part to play, right?
So the organization definitely has a part to play. And I think yesterday when the report on the Ministry of Aging was launched, there was also discussion on how actually in companies especially, if the CEO or leadership is not, they don't buy into the need for upgrading and for the need to adapt, then really there's only that much an individual can do. So we need buy-in on both sides, we need awareness on both sides. It's not just the individual's responsibility, of course. Yeah.
So last question, what are some of the top skills you think everyone needs to future-proof ourselves? Maybe some hard skills and some soft skills?
Right. I think it's quite hard to pinpoint on exact skills, but I think what has been raised, well, currently or nowadays is also, on one hand, you should have an awareness of what are some of the emerging maybe hard skills like coding or like new digital technologies that are out there. I mean, there should be an awareness of that. But on the other hand, I think the jobs that are more resilient nowadays would also be maybe involving more people skills and more, I guess, communicative, things that are not just done by rote learning, things that cannot be automated. So I think when we think about how we can make our jobs more resilient, that's where we should go, awareness and also softer side of things.
Yeah, the willingness to learn, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bei. For more stories on Singapore's economy and business, do log on to straitstimes.com. Now on to our next story. It's been about 2 years of renovation work and now the iconic Raffles Hotel has opened its doors to its shopping arcade on Thursday. The rest of the hotel will open on August 1st. Now, the 3-story arcade boasts over 30 retail, dining and lifestyle offerings, including co-working space, the Great Room. To talk more about the revamped Raffles Hotel and the shopping, we have journalist Melissa Heng. Hi Melissa, so you were there, right, when they unveiled the new shopping arcade?
Yes.
What's your first impression?
I think they basically really expanded their sort of range of options there. Previously, it was a lot of bespoke tailors, jewelry shops, more niche stuff. For example, like Taylor CYC, yeah, used to be there. They've moved to Capital Piazza. So the Singaporean caterer Lai Chan also used to be there, but he's moved to Paragon. Yeah, so now I think they've basically really tried to like energize the space with more lifestyle options and services. Things like there's a Japanese barber there now, there's a co-working space, things that can possibly generate like more foot traffic. Yeah.
So what other new tenants can we expect? Anyone that you're excited about in particular?
There's a bunch of F&B options opening there actually. The very popular like Burger and Lobster is going to open their second outlet there very soon. This will actually be like their flagship, so it'll be actually bigger than the one at Jewel Changi. So that's quite exciting, I think.
Because you're secretly a foodie, right?
Yes. There are a lot of other restaurants. There are quite a few other restaurants opening there. So there are like 2 Michelin star ones that are going to open, or by Michelin star chefs rather. There's one by Anne Sophie Pic and one by Ellen Ducasse. There's also going to be a contemporary Chinese restaurant there called E by Singaporean chef Jeremy Leong.
But I understand not all the shops are open right now, right? So can you give us a rough estimate as to when we can expect, everything to be ready?
Okay, most of them are open, like more than half of them are already open. But the rest, like Burger and Lobster, the Ellen Ducasse restaurant, those should open within maybe the next 3 months.
So the thing is with Raffles Hotel, everyone, I'm sure a lot of Singaporeans, they know about it. They've been there at least once in their life. We all have our own specific memories attached to the place. So you'd be glad to know that some things have remained. Right? So can you share with us what has remained and also what has remained but changed?
Okay, so some of the returning tenants, there's luxury watch store, the Hourglass, and the camera brand Leica. They've come back. The very popular Tiffin room is also still at Raffles Hotel, and it's gotten a really beautiful makeover. There's also Jubilee Theatre, but that used to be a theatre, and now that has totally changed, and now it's called Jubilee Ballroom. So instead of the theatre where maybe some people might remember going there for musicals and plays, right? It's a whole new ballroom where people can have wedding dinners and galas. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much again, Melissa. So once again, the rest of the hotel will open on August 1st. And in other related news, the Raffles Sentosa Resort and Spa Singapore is set to open in 2022 with 61 villas. Now, those were our top stories for the day. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. I'm Melissa. Have a good weekend and join us next Monday for more big stories.